All right, welcome to the
Clay Edwards Show. More adrenaline.
You know, it's a pretty interesting time to be alive. What's the saying that made the times you live in be interesting? We have accomplished that.
And more testosterone for your morning drive.
But when you know you've got a problem, how about tell people and be honest? What's going on?
Going to war on cancel culture and bringing the spotlight on issues and topics from around the city of Jackson.
I feel like Jackson, Mississippi.
No one else wants to talk about.
The whole system is corrupt and evil. It's unreal. And they don't care. And everybody knows that. It's just sad.
And fights for the soul of America.
I'm going to need y'all to explain to me what a positive solution is, because you positive solutions only people have been in charge for a while now. And I'm not seeing too many positive solutions.
You never met a mother quite like me.
Strap in, turn up the volume, and get ready, Jackson, for unfiltered, no sugar added talk radio. Broadcasting live from the Generator Power Solutions studio. It's award-winning podcaster Clay Edwards.
The Clay Edwards Show here on 103.9 WYAB. As always, we're broadcasting live in the Generator Power Solutions studio. And you can reach us on the Black Axes Throwing Club phone line at 601-879-0002. But hold off on that for a few minutes, because we've got a guest in the studio. My new best friend, Madison County Sheriff, Randy Tucker. How you doing, brother?
Doing great.
I got you on over there. All right. So, Randy, you've been doing this for a while now, right?
Quite a while, yeah.
For some reason, I don't have you in my mic here. Talk again for me.
Gotcha.
Okay. Sorry. That was mic 3 yesterday. It's mic 2 today. All right. Much better. Much better. So, look, you've been sheriff for what now? 9.5, almost 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years, yeah.
Around 2012?
Yeah.
What made you get in? What made you run for sheriff?
Man, you know, when our former sheriff decided he was going to retire, a lot of the guys came to me and asked me to do that. And, you know, when the guys think enough of you to think you're the guy to fill that position, you know, you got to sit back and really evaluate not only yourself but what it means to them. So it made it an easy decision, but, you know, you got to discuss that with your family and kind of make sure that's the right path for you, and it felt right, and the guys really got behind me, and it made it easy.
And you won your first time running?
I did, yeah.
That's cool. You know, you see a lot of guys, man, that sometimes the first time out the chute is a trial run and don't always work out, and they come back down the road, and it may be 2 or 3 elections later, and they finally get it. So it's cool that you kind of got out there and got it out of the way. And
right out of the gate. That's
awesome, man. Look, so if I did my math right, you're going into about your 35th year in law enforcement?
No, 29.
29. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So your website was up today. I was adding the 29 and the 9. So, close enough. And
long time.
Yeah, long time. Look, man, you do anything in life, especially as you get a little older and you start thinking like, man, I can't believe it's been 29 years since then. You know, you do anything for 29 years, you've been doing it for a minute.
Long time, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you graduated from Mississippi Law Enforcement Training Academy?
That's correct.
What, 94?
94.
That's awesome. You know, so I'm sure he wasn't there then, but we've got Lieutenant Thomas Tuggle coming on the show Thursday to talk about.
That's a good one. Very good man, yeah.
The training academy. I'm really excited about that, man, because I talked to that guy for about 5 minutes on the phone the other day, and I was ready to run through a brick wall by the time I got through talking to him. I'm like, good Lord, this is the guy training our law enforcement. Our law enforcement is in good hands.
Hey, it doesn't take long to realize what kind of a quality individual he is.
Ain't no doubt about it. Sheriff, you got anything on your mind, man? You got anything you want to get off your chest today?
About 10 million things. Which one you want?
Were you able to find gas?
You know, we're very fortunate that we have the ability as first responders to have a reserve. So we've got a little bit, yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. It was kind of just one of the things that popped in my head on the way in. I was like, well, what do first responders do in a situation like this? Do y'all have access to tanks and pumps, I guess?
The Sheriff's Department has a reserve tank, so anytime we see or foresee something like this happening, we have that reserve available to us. Yeah.
That's good to know. I mean, especially in the community, it's good to know that that the Sheriff's Department can get to where they need to be.
Yeah, it's kind of unique, especially this time of year. You know, getting ready for hurricane season anyway, so we keep that on hand for that season anyway. So we were ready for this.
Yeah, I work at a car lot over in Jackson, and And I was thinking this morning, I was like, we got a tank back in the back. If worse comes to worse, they're going to see my Infinity back there filling up. But I was able to get some gas at the station here next door, but it's premium only.
Right.
I was down to I was coming in from Crossgates, and I pulled through that little gas station. I thought it was going to be slick. I said, well, I'm leaving the house about 5:45. There won't be too many people out. I'm not fighting that gas station hustle at 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And especially when I saw it coming home. And, man, I pulled through, and, of course, bags on all the pumps.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had a half tank. I was like, I'm fine, but I don't want to get to the point where I'm not. So I pulled up over here in Flora, and anyway, I had to get premium, but that's fine. My $25 for a half a tank. I was like, ugh.
Yep.
But, man, look, as life goes. So, look, it's Law Enforcement Appreciation Week. That's why we got you on. We had Dean Scott on yesterday. Got you today. We got several more guys the rest of the week. We just wanted to give an opportunity to show people what it's like from the other side of the badge. We're all inundated with the negativity from social media and the 24-hour news cycle and just all the chaos going on in the world. And you're up there, man. You're running a tight ship in Madison County. I mean, I know it because I hear people talking about they're scared to go up there. Scared to go up there and act up.
Right.
It's not like when they're scared to come to Jackson. There's different scenario.
Different scared.
Different scared. Yeah. How do you continue to keep such a tight ship, man? I'm guessing it has a lot to do with, retention of your office of your deputies.
That's the number one thing. You want, you surround yourself with quality people, and that's in any facet of life. You surround yourself with those quality people, and you train them, you treat them fair, you pay them a fair wage, and you let them do their job. You treat them fair, and somebody feels treated fair at their office or in their employment, they're going to do you a better job, and they're going to stay with you. That's what we have.
Yeah, it's good, and you see it in all walks of life. When it goes so far to just tell somebody you're doing a good job. I appreciate you.
We just celebrated yesterday. It was actually May the 1st, but my captain over investigations, Todd Wilson, and I don't think he would mind me sharing this with you. He put it on Facebook. Once
it's in a public forum, it's public. It's public.
It's a public forum. But he just celebrated his 30th year, and that was my first time. We give out the little celebration badges for their years of service, and he just completed his 30th year with the same department, which is phenomenal. That's kind of unheard of today in law enforcement, but very proud of that. And that's just an example of the type of individual we have there at the Sheriff's Department. They stay with us.
They do, man. You're seeing that more in your suburbs and in your sheriff's departments, that more so than your city police departments. At least in my experience, in my day-to-day runnings around and people I meet and see and stuff, the sheriff's department guys seem to stay put a little longer, and you can build that relationship with them, and that goes a long way, man. To be able to know Deputy fill in the blank. I mentioned a guy's name before we came on the air that helped save my life. If it wasn't for guys like that and being able to build a relationship with guys like that, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation today.
Yeah, in a lot of employment settings, they say the boss can't be friends with the employees, and I don't feel that way. I guess I'm just not out of that mold. I believe that once you get out there and work with those guys and you're kind of in the line of fire with them, that you have to be able to relate and kind of live that same lifestyle, and that's the kind that I like to be with. Those guys, those guys are me. So
those are the guys you want in your foxhole.
That's right.
I got to know you more than just your name.
That's right.
If you're gonna get my foxhole and you're gonna have my back, man. I gotta know what kind of beer you like to drink. I need to know a little bit more about you than just your name. No, I mean, that's not a deal breaker, because there's going to be guys you don't jihad with that you work well with too.
And you and I were talking before we went on the air, and Brad Sullivan's case was one of those such cases. Those are the guys that you want with you. Kind of where the rubber meets the road. You got to be able to depend on those guys, and not only from an employee standpoint, but a friendship and I got your back type deal. Yeah,
and you mentioned Brad. I want to start at the beginning of that, but I did want to mention, when we're coming out of a break, because I don't want to cut it short. But I do want to mention something, because you talk about people having back. Joey Butler. Mm-hmm. I mean, he basically gets credit for saving Brad's life. Being the first on the scene there, and that's the kind of relationships we're talking about. That's what it takes, is having somebody that can jump in, and be Johnny on the spot and know what to do in the time of crisis.
It's kind of, we can fill each other's shoes. One guy knows what the other's going to do, and in a time like that, that's very important. Time is everything. A is going to take care of B, and B is going to take care of C, and so on and so forth. So it's very important. It's especially in a situation like that. So yeah, Joey's a perfect example.
Is Joey still with the sheriff's department?
Yes, sir.
That's good stuff there, man.
Can't run him off.
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Joey, and I was just kind of catching up last night, doing a little bit of research just to get my dates and my timelines right. For when we talked today, and I ran across that, and I knew somebody had to have done it, but I didn't know that the names. A lot of times, names like that are withheld. So it was nice to see his name get out there and get the credit for that. And I'll never forget, ever. December 20th, 2019, when Brad came home from the hospital, that caravan of police coming from, from St. Dominic's, I think, taking him back home. Man, I don't care who you are. If that didn't bring a tear to your eye watching that, you're not human. That was amazing. My
eyes were red the entire way, especially the closer we got to his home and the actual community that Brad lived in here in Flora, and to see the kids from the school and the neighbors that shared the same street with him, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, the only other thing that I've seen closest to that is when the Marine from Brandon got killed around 2011, Jason. His last name's slipping my mind right off the top of my head. But when they brought him home to the airport and they were taking him to the funeral home, they brought him up Highway 80, and I was working at the Ford dealership in Brandon at the time. And from the airport all the way to the funeral home, lined up both sides of 80, all the way from Airport Road up to downtown Brandon, lined up, American flags, fire truck with the big flag hanging over 80. I mean, it was something. You hate to see a community come together over a tragedy, but it makes you smile that the community will come together when they need to.
They do, and a lot of folks don't realize that these guys are not just officers. They reach beyond that badge. They're involved in schools and churches and civic groups, and it's not just the badge. They touch a lot of lives outside of law enforcement. So.
Yeah. When we come back from the break, I want to talk to you about your law enforcement, your school programs and stuff like that, and getting a hold of these kids at younger ages and building that relationship with them. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Clay Edwards Show. I've got Sheriff Randy Tucker in the studio with me. We will be right back. All right, welcome back to the Clay Edwards Show. We are live here in the Generator Power Solutions Studio on 103.9 WYAB. If you need backup power, look, you guys hear me preach it every day, man. There's a backup emergency generator. Give Generator Power Solutions a call. We're approaching hurricane season, and if you were here for Katrina, you know that weather can touch us up here. You could be without power for a week. We just came out of the ice storm. I told y'all the story. I didn't have any power for about a week. And every time it kicked on and off, my neighbor's generator kicked on, and I had to sit over there like a kick in the butt without power. So anyway, give Generator Power Solutions a call at 601-519-4064. Sheriff, you cool with taking a call?
Sure.
Let's see who we got here on the air. Caller, you're on the air.
What's up, Clay and Sheriff? How y'all doing?
Good.
Good. Who we got?
This is Jay Meister in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. I just want to say that we are very fortunate to have Randy Tucker as our sheriff, and we really do appreciate him. But, Sheriff, I want to tell you one thing.
Go ahead.
You don't know nothing about me.
Thank you, caller.
Y'all have a good day.
You too.
I bet I do.
I bet I do too. Oh man, good stuff there. Good stuff there. Jay Meister. That's an interesting name.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, Sheriff. That's a nice palate cleanser there, man. So we talked about Brad Sullivan.
Right.
Going into the break. It was September 5th, 2019, 7:15 a.m. I guess a lot of lives changed forever that day.
A lot, yeah.
So I was doing a little research. I'd forgot that the other guy, and I told you off air, I'm not gonna mention the guy's name. I just don't want to give anybody any extra infamy. You know, he's in jail. He's gonna die there, and that's the best place for him as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Just short of a firing squad, and you know. But so when guys like Brad get shot and the other deputy that got shot, it's what I always harken back to when people are raising Cain about police this, police that. You know, why does it take 2 cops to pull somebody over? All this other nonsense. I'm like, man, well, think about the guys that got shot. It's 301 or 302 law enforcement officers that have died in the line of duty in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. I wrote the number down yesterday, but I'm off one way or the other. I think there's been 3, if I saw right in Madison in sheriff's department history. Mm-hmm. You know, and it came real close to being 4.
Right.
You know. So I always harken back to that. And can y'all take anything from the training aspect out of what happened that day and utilize it to try to prevent it from happening again if the same scenario were to happen again? Or is that just is what it is, wrong place, wrong time type stuff?
Well, it's fortunate. It's kind of both fortunate and unfortunate that it takes something like that to learn something. And I guess the answer to the question is both yes and no. But yes, you can always learn something from an incident like that, and look back. They say hindsight's 20/20, but you can always look back and say, "Wow, if this ever happens again, we would do this different or that different." But in really analyzing that particular incident, the way it unfolded and where it happened. Aside from the outcome with Brad, it really, as far as a public safety standpoint, unfolded and ended about as good as it could have from a public safety standpoint. Yeah. And I think Brad would tell you he would want it to happen to him before it happened to one of his brother officers or somebody else in the community. Ideally, it wouldn't have happened to anybody, but the individual that committed the crime chose that path. So. Yes, you can always look back and say, we would do this a little different or that a little different. But I'll tell you, in a perfect world, none of it would have happened at all. But the guys and girls there at the sheriff's department prevented what could have been a really, really, really bad situation had he gotten into a more populated area. They prevented that from happening. So. They did a really, really good job, and I was proud of every one of them.
Well, I think it makes a great point that from a public safety perspective, it went exactly as well as it could have gone, all things considered. We're talking about people that run to the fire.
Right.
Brad was running to the fire, and to protect everybody else. And when you run to the fire, occasionally you're going to get burned.
That's correct.
But that's at the end of the day. I mean, that's not what you want to see happen, but that is part of the job.
And we were very fortunate that more of us weren't injured. That guy, he had the training and the ability and the intent to inflict more damage. And had it not been for the training and be quite honest, the hand of the man upstairs,
yeah,
he would have got more of us.
Now I read where Brad said he thought he got off around 90 rounds.
Right, 90 rounds.
God dang. And Brad got struck twice. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Good Lord, man. The God was looking down that day.
Right. No doubt.
Yeah. He was driving a Tahoe, right?
Yes, sir.
I think I might need to get me one of those Tahoes.
If you saw that video, I don't know.
Yeah. But, man. That's wild. All right, so transitioning from that a little bit, and you have a program. Oh, let's see, I got it here. It is the Explore program,
right?
Where you're getting kids in front of law enforcement at an earlier age. Can you tell us about that?
That is a program through the Boy Scouts of America that the Sheriff's Department entered into. It's where we take kids in their years of high school, basically 14 to 18. It's a 8-week summer program where they dedicate their time to coming, going through basically a mini police academy type situation. We ask them to make that commitment to that program. They learn. They go through physical exercise, just like the police academy, classroom exercise. They kind of live the life of a police officer, more or less, and see what we do when we even let them shoot firearms. Teach them proper firearm safety and how to handle those. They go through our dispatch, do some ride-along type stuff, not in a hot call situation, but with a non-responding officer, just to see how we operate. And at the end, we have a graduation ceremony, and they become explorers, and they get to go to work school functions like at ball games and things of that nature, and work alongside an officer. It's a really good program. It's getting harder and harder to recruit kids to do that. And in all honesty, when you're asking a kid to make a commitment, it's harder to find kids now that aren't involved in sports or committed to family vacation times during the summer or what have you. But it's a really good program. We're very proud of it. We've had several go on to become police officers, even within our department. So very proud of that.
How long has that program been around?
Since 2013, I believe.
So it's had some time to breathe, about a good 8 years now. So they would have had time to, like I say, to graduate into into law enforcement. Yeah. That's cool. One of the things I was talking with Dean Scott yesterday was like his SROs, and being able to get in touch with these high school kids. It's almost like in junior high and high school kids, in a say something type scenario. See something, say something. If they got problems at home, knowing there's an officer that they have or a deputy that they may be on a first name basis with. And to me, it almost creates because I think that's a big problem, is a lot of these kids nowadays are raised in this culture of it's cool to hate cops. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons for that is they don't know any cops. They may not have a officer-friendly type guy. So if you get these school resource officers or these Explorer programs and stuff like that, it's a great opportunity to humanize the deputies and the police, and to get it through these kids' skulls at an early age. These guys aren't the enemy,
Well, I see it a lot of times where parents are telling their kids that if you do this, and they're pointing at an officer, I'm gonna have him put you in jail. That's really a tough situation, because we're being made to look like the enforcer or the bad guy, there, instead of saying don't act like this in front of the officer. Or I'm going to spank you, or something along those lines. But it's tough. We get put on the spot a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of put on the spot, I'm going to put it on the spot here. What do you think the toughest thing you got, just from a societal standpoint, one of the toughest things that you got to deal with? I saw what happened with the kids on 55 a few weeks ago. They started up in Canton and ended there in Ridgeland. With the drive-by shooting at the car and all that stuff, do you feel like it's just this culture nowadays of the explosion of the nuclear family and lack of proper upbringing that's just leading these young kids? Because those kids were like 15, 16, 17 years old, out running, shooting up other kids, and it's terrible.
It is, in my opinion now, and I'm not going to speak for law enforcement or anybody else. In my opinion, the absolute degradation of our culture is the deterioration of the family unit.
Yeah.
The absent father or the absent mother, or the broken family, the values of the home, the discipline, the upbringing. Kids aren't being made to go to church or taught the value of church. Absolutely. I think it's way beyond. I don't want to say beyond repair. I think it's beyond what people want to or are able to recover from.
Yeah, and there's not a program that's going to fix it.
No.
You're not going to legislate morality into this.
No,
this is the cat's out of the bag. This is a absolute cultural problem.
Absolutely.
That started in the 80s. With the crack epidemic, and it started splitting up homes, and now we're pushing 3 full generations of babies having babies and not raising those babies. And this whole it takes a village to raise a kid thing, well, the village isn't doing their part either anymore.
That's right.
And it's not the village's job necessarily, but you don't want to poop where you sleep, so you try to take care of things, or poop where you eat, should I say? And you're just not seeing that anymore. There's this culture of no snitching. Everybody's it's the dang wild, wild west.
It is.
And I mean, I see it in Jackson all the time. It's one of the things that pushed me into starting my Save Jackson page, and that inevitably led to me getting on the radio, running my mouth and talking about this kind of stuff. Is it runs way deeper than anything. You're not going to elect some magic person that's going to fix any of these problems. I don't know where the reset button is, or how we begin to correct it, but man,
is there
it's
a reset
tough.
button?
I don't know, man. They keep talking about a great reset, man. I don't know if we have the same thing in mind, but man, we got to get Jesus back, on the front lines, and
it's tough out here dealing with children, especially those that come from a home where there's a pattern of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
On either the mother or the father, and I'm not pointing fingers at either side here, but it's really tough to deal with them when they're from a home like that.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, you mentioned domestic abuse, and I want to talk to you about human trafficking and the domestic side of that too, what these parents are doing to their own kids, and kind of what you guys are doing to fight that. You're listening to the Clay Edwards Show. I've got Madison County Sheriff Randy Tucker in studio. We will be right back after this break. All right, welcome back to the Clay Edwards Show. We are live in the Generator Power Solutions studio, and we are joined by Madison County Sheriff Randy Tucker. This segment is brought to you by Lakeland Glass and Tint, where quality matters. Give Jason and the team a call at 601-946-1000, whether it's you need a windshield replacement. And look, I'm going to tell you, these windshields are getting more and more and more technologically advanced. I shared a great article on the Save Jackson Facebook page yesterday about that, so go check that out and give Lakeland Glass a call today, 601-946-1000. All right, Sheriff, so we were wrapping up during the break about the school resource program and how that can be so beneficial to kids that are maybe have some stuff going on at home.
Right.
They can share that in confidentiality.
Absolutely.
With whether it be a teacher or a SRO, and you said that's actually led to some cases and stuff, and getting kids in a better situation.
Absolutely, it puts those guys or the officers out there to let the kids see that there's a friendly face. The officers are not there to write them a ticket or to enforce a law on them. That he's there to be their friend and an avenue for them to vent to. And once they've established that relationship, and we try to keep the same guys in the same schools so that the kids get familiar with that face. So they're there for those kids to lean on if they need to, and certainly the staff can do that as well, and it's worked out really well. And there have been instances where there's been information shared that have led outside of the school environment and back to the home, and there's been some successful resolutions to some issues within homes based on that information. So yeah, it's a really good program, and any jurisdiction that's not participating in that, it's probably a good opportunity to look at something along those lines, just as an avenue to give those kids an opportunity to share that.
Yeah, I feel like that is it's a great opportunity to have some hands-on, one-on-one time with kids at a very impressionable age. I think back to when I was in junior high, 8th, 9th grade. I was riding around listening to NWA, F the Police, and this, that, and the other, and that was poisoning my brain. And we can laugh about rap music and this, that, and the other. Or I guess it was rock and roll in the 60s, poisoning our youth. But it is a very impressionable age. Now, I've got a 19-year-old daughter now. I've got a 17-year-old stepdaughter, a 21-year-old daughter. And I see what they're doing. I see what they're listening to, and I just cringe because I know that you think you're just listening to music, but it's poisoning your brain just a little bit, when you get into societal issues and stuff. And if you have the opportunity to get some police in front of them, and of course church, obviously, but my goal this conversation is just to show the benefits of getting law enforcement in front of youth.
That's right. And there are some kids out there, young adults, that do have aspirations of being a police officer one day. So it gives them an opportunity to discuss that with those men and women in blue. So, yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it.
You mentioned your DARE program. Mm-hmm. You said it starts in 5th grade?
5th grade, yeah.
Tell me about that.
We've got a DARE officer who goes to each school out in county jurisdictions, and I know Madison and Ridgeland both do that as well, the cities. And we catch these kids at an early age for a reason. They're really impressionable. But they go through this program all year, or at least a semester of it, and we have a graduation ceremony at the end of the year, officer-friendly type deal where, say no to drugs, no tobacco, things of that nature. But it leaves a really good mark on those kids. You ought to see their eyes light up. And Sergeant Ralph Sherrill, I don't think he would mind me calling his name. He's a really, really great guy, really dedicated to these kids. But all the Madison County schools get that, and it's been a tremendous success for us. It's a really good program.
Yeah, that is a very important age too.
Yeah,
and it feels like it's getting younger and younger with these impressionable ages, and especially depending on the community and the home life and whatnot. So to hear it being talked about in 5th grade and stay not 7th, 8th, 9th, you get in there early, get it in their heads. These are the things you want to do. These are the things you don't want to do.
That's right, because believe it or not, at early ages they're being subjected to other things that you don't want them having a preconceived notion that is okay to have or do. So,
well, I mean, if they have one of these phones, holding up my phone here, if they have one of these, access to one of these, they have access to everything you do, parents.
Absolutely.
Whether it be, anything from music to porn to anything, and this is what your kids are seeing.
That's right.
You can't police that. you can't. So, one of the other things I had on my list here, and I thought it was relevant, is the human trafficking. Mm-hmm. It's blowing up. Well, it's probably always been a situation, but with the internet, it's really taken it and made it a nationwide issue. And we sit here in Mississippi and that don't happen here. It happens here, doesn't it?
It happens everywhere, and it's kind of one of those deals where the more layers of the onion you peel back, the closer you get to the heart of the problem, to be honest with you. And yes, it happens everywhere. It happens in Jackson. It happens in Madison. There's no demographic that's immune to it. So I don't want to sit here and pick on any one individual. Obviously, it's probably a greater problem in a more dense population. So, but it does happen everywhere, and it happens to every race, every gender, every nationality. So, yes, it's a problem.
What Dean was saying yesterday was that he sees one of the biggest I don't say demographics of it, but the biggest core problems from it is parents with drug problems basically giving their kids to drug dealers for whatever. And I never considered that because I couldn't imagine doing that. But
in yesteryear when the drug problem originally came bad, you heard of these individuals. We used to chase down what we believed was stolen cars, but when you got to the heart of the problem, it was John Doe had given drug dealer X his vehicle for some dope. It wasn't really a stolen car.
Yeah.
Now it's John Doe X has given his son or daughter to drug dealer X. So it's changed from a material possession to a human being. So it's trafficking humans as opposed to trafficking possessions. So, yeah, it's a travesty, and it's happening.
Man, it's just so hard for me to wrap my head around that, and I don't want to be naive here, but just the thought that a parent, even in the worst case scenarios, could ever do that to their child, and because you're setting a child up for a lifetime of failure.
Absolutely.
At that point, because then if they can't trust their parent, to take care of them and protect them at a most vulnerable age, how are they supposed to ever trust anybody else again in their life?
That's right. That's exactly right.
And it goes back to, and you see a lot of that type stuff when these broken communities and stuff where it's just the parents have been addicted to drugs, in and out of prison. Man, I'm gonna tell you, it's a tough spot to be in. It really is. There's really no transitioning from that.
No.
That's a tough spot there. One of the other things that I wanted to highlight here, man, was your active shooter program. I think that always seems to be relevant, especially when it gets politicized and whatnot. are you able to talk about any aspects of that, or is clearly? I mean, I know there's going to be some nuts and bolts of that need to stay secret, but how often do you guys train for that? Do you do it in schools?
Well, you never stop training in law enforcement. I mean, it's an ever-evolving world, and training has to be in the same way. But, we law enforcement in general, especially in the metro area, Rankin, Hines, Madison, whether it be federal agencies, FBI, state agencies, just say game and fish, local municipal agencies, we all train by the same training scenarios and training plans in response to active shooters. And yes, we do train annually and periodically together.
Well, that makes sense in case, there's a situation in Madison and you need Rankin County, or vice versa, situation in Jackson. Well, you're going to call on surrounding areas.
And there may not be 4 deputies or 3 deputies there immediately. You may end up, just say, with a Madison police officer, a Madison County deputy, and a game warden. They're the 3 closest officers. And those 3 guys need to know how the other 2 are going to react in that particular scenario. So that's the reason for all of you operating under the same type response plan and the same type of training, so that you can all go in and take an immediate action. So we all do practice scenarios. We do practice with our schools. In Madison County School District, we train all of our teachers, and the school district is phenomenal in working with us in doing that. We work with a lot of our private schools also to ensure that their staff knows what we're going to do and how we're going to react, and what their role is, what they need to do as far as keeping the kids safe. I mean, that's our number one goal, is those children. We got to protect those children. That's what they are there to do, and that's what our objective is. And beyond that, I really won't get into the details of the actual training that we do, but we have worked with a lot of individual businesses. I mean, if they've got a desire to have a plan in place, we've got a couple of guys, and I think some of them that will come out and work with them on putting a plan together for their particular business. We've got blueprints of every school in Madison County, so we know when we go there where we're going, what we're doing. We can do that for their business if that's what they desire.
Yeah, I think all soft targets should have just an emergency plan.
Yeah,
no different than a fire plan. Look, we're going to take our last break here on the Clay Edwards Show. When we come back, we've got Sheriff Randy Tucker. Y'all stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Clay Edwards Show. Look, we got about 2 minutes left with Sheriff Randy Tucker. One of the things we want to talk about real quick to close the show was, guys, when you see law enforcement out there, it's never a bad thing to tell them thank you, shake their hand, just let them know you appreciate them. Because keep in mind, the worst part of your day is just making sure you probably get home. You may get hollered at by your boss. If these guys have a bad day at the office, man, they could have seen something on the side of the road in a car accident. They could have had to save somebody from a sex crime. It could have been a terrible domestic incident. And the sheriff was telling me this is the highest suicide rate for any job in the world. Correct, Sheriff?
That's correct.
So it's just a little be patient with these guys too, man, because they're dealing with a lot that you just don't see. Their job is way different than ours. So they could be having a bad day. And just take a deep breath and be mindful of that.
It's tough, yeah. They can't unsee what they see every day.
No, we go home and our wife asks us how we've been. It's like, these guys, man, they shut their eyes and that stays with you. And it don't get better. It just piles on because the next day could be worse than the day before. And they're doing that to protect us, and to save our lives. Look, Sheriff, brother, I appreciate you coming out today, man. Celebrate Law Enforcement Appreciation Week with us. It's going to be something we try to do every year. We'd love to involve you every year. And Clay Edwards Show, if there's anything that we can ever do for you guys, don't hesitate. We need to get the word out about anything.
Thank you.
We will definitely be here to do it. Anything you got planned for the rest of the week?
We got a lot of events. Madison County and surrounding areas got a lot of events. The community's been really good. They got a lot of stuff planned for us. We want to thank everybody in advance and thank everybody that's already participated.
Hey, look, whoever does your website does a great job. Is it SheriffRandyTucker.com?
That's correct.
Yeah, y'all can check it out. There's a lot of great information there, and it's up to date, which is even better. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow at 7 a.m. as the Clay Edwards Show discusses all that is going on in and around the city of Jackson.
This concludes our broadcast day.
Right here on 103.9 WYAB.